This is Changeling the podcast.
Welcome to Changeling the podcast. Come for the glamour, stay for the vibes. I'm your host Josh, and with us is your other host Puka. Say hi, Puka.
Yeah, hoi hoi.
What are we talking about today, Puka?
We are putting a small bow on the first half of season 4 as we talk about the state of the podcast. Like we do. Just a little mini-sode to keep things fresh. And I don't know. I feel like we do these and I genuinely don't know if people find them informative and interesting. I hope they do.
Yeah, let us know. Either way.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about some analytics.
Yeah. So we have sort of two, there's the main podcast site, which has some data, and then I have no idea if it's representative or not, but we also have the YouTube, which has other data. The YouTube channel is definitely growing.
Yeah.
You know, we're still a tiny channel, but considering it's a small podcast and we're just one piece of it's this YouTube channel. But
we did get 100 new subscribers in the first 6 months of the year, I noticed. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. No. That Gimme Shelter episode was extremely popular.
I think people are just searching for the song.
But no, but there's people who stayed. Like, its actual retention and things were not bad.
Yeah, no, that's fair, yeah. Maybe it'll introduce them to Changeling and then they'll come back for more episodes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did also see that on the website, so non-YouTube listens, because I don't think YouTube listens are captured there. The most popular episode in the history of the show, I think, has been and remains Book of Freeholds, but it is our first one which has cracked 1,000 listens. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, YouTube counts exactly for one listen, so that doesn't really matter because it'll do that every time. No one could listen, and it'll still count. That'll be our only listener. It's YouTube.
Well, I think it's something like 1,006, so we still passed the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
The most popular day, I think, was the same for both, which was April 22nd, Earth Day. I'm not really sure why, except it was the day after we released World of Darkness Hong Kong, and I noticed that the runner-up on YouTube was World of Darkness Tokyo. So maybe those books get some attention. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it's some sort of a tie-in, because those were tie-ins with Mage the Podcast and Werewolf the Podcast, so maybe there was...
Yeah, maybe. Another popular day was March 29th. I have no idea why, but why not? It seems like the episodes on Changeling the Lost are doing reasonably well, too. And overall... It seems like each new episode is getting like a couple hundred views in the week or two when it comes out, and then a few dozen more each week after that. So there's some consistency.
Yeah, although on YouTube also the perennial one that's always been popular since it came out was our episode 1, Introduction to Changeling the Dreaming.
Which is, I mean, that's expected, I suppose. Yeah. I almost wonder if we should go back and not re-record it, do a follow-up or something, just because we are now 118 episodes in, and I think we've probably learned a bit since that first one.
I should think about that. Not tonight, but yeah, I think we'd have to plan that well.
Yeah,
So that's it. It's coming along. Our Patreon's grown slightly, right?
Very slightly, but it could always grow a little more.
It's in the right direction, at least.
Yeah. So, with the Changeling the Lost, I would like to ask you if you have found those episodes, because I went into it with a very concerted sort of mission of, let me make this game make more sense to people who have only touched dreaming. So looking for ways to relate Lost to dreaming. And I was curious whether, from your perspective, those episodes are sort of achieving that, hopefully achieving that.
I would say it's helped me understand Lost a lot better, but...
Yeah, okay.
And there's behind this, definitely there's parts of it helping me understand, from a development perspective, how dreaming influenced Lost. I mean, they're different games, a lot of differences about the games. So it's, there's I could use that in a Changeling game, but just as often I could be I could use that in a Mage game, or I could use that in a, where, it's...
Sure.
Yeah.
Which I think is still a useful thing to take away from it. I mean, overall, I think my hope was I wanted them to be episodes which everyone could listen to and get something out of, regardless of how much Lost they had played.
Yeah, I'm finding I've played 0 Lost. I have not finished a single Lost book reading it. I almost played in a LARP of it, and then I had kids, and that was about it. I just couldn't anymore. And yeah, so it's like, and it's not my favorite game. It's probably my least favorite RPG about fairies, but
yeah, I do have to say some of the getting through the books are a little bit of a chore.
Yeah, although we've had that with Dreaming too. So, but
sure, yeah.
But I'm enjoying the podcast. Like I'm genuinely, when they come out, I just listen like anyone else, and I guess I could technically get ahead of time once you're done recording and stuff. But anyway, I'm getting the finished episode at the same time as everyone else, and yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Right on.
It's fun listening to a podcast, another podcast. It's like, wow, I actually get to listen to, because sometimes I'll listen to the ones we've done, but usually not, because like we already recorded it. So
yeah. And it's been interesting from my perspective because, like, I have played Lost, and in particular, as we go through first edition, I played a couple games of it back in the day, but I never got super into it. And we are moving past the books that I would say I did read solidly cover to cover, and more into the ones that I kind of like flipped through and then put them on the shelf and never used again. So I'm also curious to see how the rest of it goes.
Yep.
Someone on the, I think it was on the Onyx Path Discord when I kind of cross-posted, it's like, hey, everyone, we're doing Lost for this series of episodes. And someone was like, well, why are you doing first edition? And I felt like I kind of said, well, you know, we're doing a historical overview, and so we're starting from the beginning and working through. But in the back of my head, I was like, oh no, are there going to be edition wars to contend with for this too?
Yeah.
So I hope that's...
yeah, I do like some other Chronicles of Darkness games. And then, but I sort of dropped out before second edition came out. Like I had kids and was very busy. And then when I came back, I was more getting into other games, including Changing the Dreaming, right? But then I hear people like going, oh, like I like Werewolf the Forsaken, but I've never played second edition. And second, people are like, oh, Werewolf the Forsaken 1 edition was terrible. I'm like, I liked it. What? I don't really know second edition enough to know like how to compare them, but
yeah, they are rather different for Changeling the Lost, except not nearly as different as like Lost and Dreaming. I mean, you can still see.
I hope so. That would be a bad second edition of anything.
Yeah, the mechanics are rather different, I would say, in a lot of key ways. Like not in the dice so much, but in things like the way contracts work, or the way that there's like different character building and story structure mechanics.
Yep.
But like thematically, it does feel fairly similar, I would say. So I hope that people who have only played Lost second edition are also getting something out of the read-throughs of first. But that's a next season question.
Yeah, how many more Lost do we know for first edition? How many more books are there?
So I think we have 7 or 8. Well, okay, so as of this recording, or after this recording, there will be Lords of Summer and Equinox Road, and those will probably come out in the middle of the summer and at the autumnal equinox, because why not, as we enter the summer hiatus after this recording. In the back half of the season, we've got Dancers in the Dusk, Swords at Dawn, Fearmaker's Promise, which is like a compilation of little adventures that came out over the years, and Night Horror's Grim Fears. There's also Goblin Markets, which is a very tiny book. It might just be a mini-sode, and Victorian Lost, which I think was kind of... I think it was like in between first and second edition, but it's technically still first. So we'll see if all of those happen by the end of the season. It would be nice maybe at some point to do like a Lost theme episode as well. But
you're also going to do like a associated, I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 of the Contagion Chronicles I heard about.
Perhaps. And then we have the Dark Eras as well to talk about. The historical settings.
Yeah, so plenty of Lost content to still go through for episodes.
Yeah. And that's even before getting to second edition next season. Other stuff going on. I feel it is incumbent upon me to give an honest accounting of the C30 project. You know, it's rolling along. I think Book of Grimmare is slowly approaching completion. I feel like Lore of the Kiths is the other big one that I really want to get out the door. And I guess it was quixotic of me to think that the original plan would be possible, but one must try, right? It's the old shoot for the moon and you land among the stars or whatever, before you die screaming in the vacuum of space. But I do think that it has been very motivating for me creatively to get done what I can in this bucket of stuff. Mm-hmm. Because like, it was always, here are projects that would be cool to work on, whether it's stuff I wanted to work on or stuff other people came to us with. And since that initial plan, the world has changed significantly.
Yeah.
Our lives have changed significantly. And ultimately, you know, you got to take glamour where you can get it. And if in the balance you would be putting in more time and energy than you can afford to, that's just the way it is. And you end up having to cut your losses.
Well, nothing came out for the 20th anniversary edition. Like the actual books did not come out in 2016.
Yeah.
They didn't even do the Kickstarter in 2015. They didn't even do the Kickstarter until 2016.
Still though.
And then the like C20 core book, the C20 Player's Guide didn't come out 2019. So that's like 4 years later.
So here's the compromise that I'm going to give to myself. Yeah. Next month, July 2025, will be the 30th anniversary of Changeling, which came out in July 95. Yeah. I had actually thought for years that it was August, but it was July. Second edition was August 97. So if that is the case, I will give until July 2026 to get done as much as possible, because that will be the end of the 30th year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But if we happen to get something out a bit later than that...
It's just the engine of creation, just constantly.
Yep.
Got to constantly feed that fire. But yeah, hopefully there will be other stuff in the mix, and we'll see what happens. Obviously, if there are books that come out in the back half of this season, we can do episodes on those as well, and kind of point people towards what's in those books to generate interest.
Yeah. Like, we should probably do an episode for each book.
Yeah, that's the goal. Other episodes we might do, we've got a couple Changeling adjacent World of Darkness game books to cover. So try books Fianna, both the original and the revised, and a Book of Worlds are on the list. Are there any others at this point, or have we...
It depends on what you mean by adjacent. Like, we could do either something on the Ravnos or the revised Toreador clan book, which has the best discussion of banality, I think, of any World of Darkness book, even though it doesn't mention Changeling at all.
Yeah. There's some Malkavian stuff too. Maybe we can just do a generic clan books episode.
Yep.
I will be doing Sueños en Guerra as a minisode at some point, whenever I have the time to sit down and test my Spanish. And to my knowledge, there isn't a French-only book. So Arcane Asylum, which did the M20 French translation, they've been releasing their C20 stuff, and I haven't seen anything that's unique in French. They do have a beautiful set of Art and Realm cards, though, so I quite like those. Gonna have to see if I can pick them up next time I'm across the pond. We've also had another thing that we did in the first half of the season was Nobilis, and that was our first non-World or Chronicles of Darkness game book episode.
Yep.
So potentially there are others.
Maybe we'll do Fairy Meat at some point. That's not even a role playing.
Yeah, or Broken Tales maybe, or something.
Oh, Puppet Land. Have you seen that one?
Right? Yeah, see, this is something we should get people to submit suggestions on.
Yep.
Oh, one more important thing is I want to give a shout out to Fetch for taking the lead on running a short run actual play, and also shout out to her players for being willing to do that. It will truly be an editing gauntlet, but I'm excited for that. Hopefully I can drop those episodes like little dollops of sorbet into the sweltering heat of summer. So that I think would be like maybe a really good 30th anniversary thing in July. Like, you know, the game has truly been out for 30 years. Here are some people playing it and enjoying it for you to listen to.
Yeah.
So yeah, things and stuff.
Our Discord seems to be keep growing too.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's like an entire, like one chronicle, like the storyteller and players all joined around the same time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the other thing I think we should, I don't know, when we did our winter regnum, did we hit 100 episodes by that last time?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the...
Yeah. We're solidly, though, there's that 100 podcast thing. It's like, oh, if you don't get to 100, like, so many podcasts don't make it to 100. So it's like, oh, okay.
I think so many podcasts don't make it to 10.
Yes. Well, that's like another barrier, but we probably had that one earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I would say we'll probably hit 130 something at the end of this year.
Yep.
And then we'll see what happens after that.
Yep. But we have a lot of things to talk about on the back burner.
Yeah, well, we should talk about the big rumor, which is floating around.
Yeah.
The possibility of Changeling 5th.
Yes, with the creation of a new studio owned by Paradox called White Wolf.
Right. So, all right, before people get too excited about this prospect, if you haven't heard of the news already, maybe a couple things to kind of bear in mind about it. So, this is all coming from an announcement that Paradox made / an interview that Jason Carl gave, where basically Paradox announced they were bringing development of the games back in-house under the White Wolf label, which has been reawakened. So for context, for people who aren't aware of the history from a few years ago, when Paradox started developing under the White Wolf label and caused a number of incidents, including an international one, it was decided to shutter it as a separate imprint within the company and outsource the writing and development of the games to licensees such as Onyx Path and Renegade in particular. So they have been slowly clawing that back for a while, and now I think it's because Onyx Path has now completely finished all of their projects. Like the last Mage books are out, the last Changeling, the Lost books are out.
I think they're still Exalted.
Exalted is a weird case though. It's a separate because they haven't ever really seemed to have much interest in it as an IP.
Yeah. Which is like, oh my goodness, Paradox could totally do their own types of RPGs for Exalted, would be perfect. But like their own video games, but
well, they're really banking on the Bloodlines 2 release, so that's the caveat for all of this is if Bloodlines 2 tanks, all of this is just probably smoke or wax for scraping, to use one of my favorite idioms.
Yeah.
In any case, the imprint has now been reawakened. To my knowledge, nothing's really going to change except that they're going to be doing dev work in-house. It still seems like the actual writing might still be happening at Renegade. Maybe some of it will come in-house. I've heard that they've rehired a couple people who may be of questionable intentions towards the direction of the game. Jason Carl has expressed an interest in Mage, Changeling, and Dark Ages specifically as being like the next in the lineup, but obviously they would be because they've already covered Vampire, Werewolf, and Hunter, and nobody cares about Wraith.
Yeah.
So I will be interested / concerned once there's more tangible evidence that any of this is actually going to move forward.
Yeah, and we'll have to figure out. I think we said if there is a C5 core book, we're going to read it.
I think we have to. Yeah. And even before that, people have asked us to do an episode on what we would want to see.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, that gets tricky. It's like, okay, is this what we want to see in C5, or is this what we want to see in the next edition of Changeling? Because that feels like a different question.
Yeah. We'll have to divide the feasible from the fantastical.
Yeah.
Would you write for it, given the opportunity?
I mean, I've been having trouble writing for anything.
Well, this is a pure hypothetical.
Yeah. Would I? Maybe, but I don't know. Would you?
I don't know. I think it would heavily depend on who's actually steering the ship.
Yeah.
I think there's a few people I would trust to do it right, and I don't know if any of them are even have been approached to work on it. So,
and there could be a new person who would do a great job with Changeling.
Yeah. Hope springs eternal.
Like it would have to be a previous developer, but
yeah. And the thing about the overall state of the game of Changeling as a thing, like I think we are still seeing people discover it here and there. I think the themes still feel relevant. The setting, like I wish we had more people creating material for the vault. And in particular, because if I can pitch the vault for a second here, comparing it with other homebrew that's out there, the fact that it is this semi-professional space, the fact that you can get paid for your work, and it makes things easier to find. Like, I have no doubt, because I see this on the Discord even, I have no doubt that there are great ideas that people come up with which get lost in the shuffle of the internet that people would appreciate, and a rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, there's definitely vault products, including for Changeling, that I would say are better than some of the published products for Changeling in professionalism and everything like that.
Yeah. So at this point, it is still in the hands of us, the fans, and I think that whatever may be brewing on the horizon, we have to kind of take full advantage of that opportunity, that caretakership, that stewardship that we have.
Yeah.
So that's my guiding principle going into the next half of this season.
And we didn't go into full Sealy ravaging like I was expecting, talking about a possible C5.
We just have to note that the rumor is out there. That's all we have to think about for the time being. Because there have been a lot of rumors. Remember when there was going to be an Exalted TV show?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Well, there was also I don't even know count as when they're published, because these aren't just rumors. These are like things that the company's saying. Like, it's not just we'll make it up out of nowhere, but doesn't mean it's going to happen.
But if you sit down and read the actual statement and the actual interview, it's clear that there's really nothing concrete yet.
They're like, I feel like that sounds like they're seriously considering doing a Mage 5th edition based on what they've said.
Yes, and they're also ginning up interest so that if they need to sell off the IP, they can make more money.
Yeah. This increased my chances of a Mage 5th edition a lot more being happening likely than a Changeling 5th edition from what they wrote, but lowered the chances of a Demon 5th edition, if anything.
Yes. Or a Wraith or a Mummy 5th edition.
Yeah.
More's the pity. Well, in any case, thanks, listeners, for continuing to listen and to support us, and we hope you'll carry on doing so.
Yeah. Do we do our outros in these? I can't remember.
I think we should, just so people know where they can reach out.
Well, they can reach out to us. You can go to our Discord, discord.me/CTP. Like I said, we're top in there. We have our website, changelingthepodcast.com. We're on YouTube for Changeling the Podcast. We have a Patreon for Changeling the Podcast. We're still on Mastodon. You can substitute there, changelingpod@dice.camp. And you always email us, podcast@changelingthepodcast.com.
Links to all of which will be provided in the show notes to this episode. And who knows, maybe we'll finally get a blue sky together.
Yeah. Once again, I'm Josh.
I remain, as ever, Puka.
And the wildfire smoke stopped here, so that's great. I can breathe.
Oh, nice. I was just going to say, be fey, do crimes.